Guys, today we are climbing Navatu Rock. Navatu Rock is between two villages of Narewa and Vitawa on the north coast of Fiji, of the main island of Fiji, Vitilevu. So this rock is very symbolic. It's rich with the history of Fiji. There are, so far as I know, as far as I've read, there are 3 villages, abandoned villages, from Fiji's pre-colonial history at 3 stages of the rock. So hopefully we'll see some of the remains or the foundation of those villages. And it's a place that's rich in archaeological history and also very symbolic to the ancient Fijian way of life. So without further ado, let's get started on climbing. You can hear the chickens. Let's get started on climbing Navatu Rock. We had to go through a traditional formal welcome in the village, in Narewa village. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Fiji and its customs, this traditional formal welcome is known as the sebu sebu. So I bought some kava roots, also known as yangona, and I presented them to the village headman, who was our guide in the climb of Navatu Rock. So I bought these roots and we sat in his house and we went through a traditional form of welcome. It didn't take very long before we began our climb.
Money in there.
Okay, guys, this is interesting. This is the old. See on the ground here. There's the old tram lines, the old train tracks for the sugarcane trains, which used to travel along this route. And according to the Turanganikoro Josateki, the train stopped around about the time of Cyclone Winston. Josateki, is that right? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like what we were saying. Cyclone Winston gets blamed for everything. so there you go. That's right. Look at the old train tracks, and it's in the shadow. I don't know if you can see it. There's too many trees in the way, but we're actually in the shadow of Navatu Rock, the rock. This rock is so important that it's called the Rock. It's the only place of its kind in Fiji, rich in archaeology and history and in the ancient ways of the Fijians. And there it is, there, right up there. That's where we're going. We're going all the way up to the rock, Navatu Rock. Are you loving it, Mike?
Ah, yes, of course. Another great day out in Fiji. Woohoo!
And we're very grateful to Turanganikoro, the headman of the village, Josateki, who's our guide all the way up to the rock. Okay, so you've got the first evidence of habitation. These are shells. This is probably a midden where they dumped shells. In the olden days, the ancient Fijians lived off the food from the ocean, the crustaceans, the clams, the fish, and so that was the first evidence we have of how this place was inhabited back in the olden days. Okay, now look at this sheltered area here with all these trees. We're going into, wow. Yeah. Okay, so here is our first evidence of pottery that the ancient Fijians made centuries ago.
And then this is where sea level came up to.
There are shells everywhere. Shells are absolutely everywhere. There's something about the shape of shells that preserves them down the centuries.
Nothing to do with what they're made of, then.
which is calcium, isn't it? There it is. That's the rock there. Ooh.
Josateki, where's the elevator?
What was that, Mike?
Where's the elevator?
Where's the elevator to the top? Where's the lift to the top? It's pretty dense now, isn't it? Oh. Got bitten by something.
Already?
Wasp. She got bitten by a wasp.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Azim. That means they go for you, not me. I'm not going to attack Josateki. They know he's too tough.
Okay, look at this, guys. Our first evidence of fortification. There it is. These stones would have been brought up from below, or maybe carved out of the rock. It's look at this view. Look at this view. Incredible.
Look at the view, he says, pointing the cameras himself.
What does it say here? Oh, okay.
And here he is, your intrepid guide, forcing his way, his shaking, shivering legs up to the top, and he's at the top of that mountain, and he collapses. Facing away from the camera, of course.
Oh, hello, guys.
Come on, let's see your sweaty face. Well done, Mr. Azim.
Did it. Conquered Everest.
Woo!
Oh. So we made it to the summit. Oh. Although we only saw one village, didn't we, eh?
Yeah.
We didn't see 3 villages. Okay. Okay. So here we are. We've reached the peak of Navatu Rock, and I'm so grateful. Look at the views. Reki town from here? No.
I'm not sure if that's Reki village or the town.
Oh god. Oh, I can't believe it.
That's the mosque on the hill there. So you'd normally come round. I thought it would have been in behind that hill there.
That is Narewa village there. Look at the views across to the ocean. What an amazing view from the peak here. And I'm worse for wear. Look at those views. Look at those views. Absolutely spectacular.
Is it the smallest village?
How did someone get a bag over there? nice rest.
Okay.
While these two lads talk, they have a nice conversation, I'm going to have a nice rest. Oh. Oh.
Right.
Oh. 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 Oh, I'm worn out. Joe and Mike have gone to another peak just on the other side, just over there. There's another peak there. And I've decided to stay on in this shaded nook here because I am worn out. But anyway, I've done it. We've reached the main peak, which is the one I stood on a few moments ago, and yeah, I've done what I set out to do, is to scale the Navatu Rock, to climb up Navatu Rock, reach the summit, the main summit. There is a further summit these two other guys have gone to, but I've had to throw in the towel. I've had to throw in the towel for the other summit. But it's lovely here. It's nice and quiet. It's peaceful, and I'm having a bit of a rest. I'm having a bit of a rest here. We've reached the main peak. Having reached the main peak, there is a further peak back that way that Mike and Joe are exploring. Now, I've got a bit of a sore shoulder. I got stung by a wasp further below, so my shoulder's a bit sore, so I've left those two to go and explore the other side of the peak that's just behind me, and hopefully Mike will take some photographs and we'll take a video of the view, which I presume is looking out to the ocean in one direction, and in the other direction we'll look out to Vitawa village, because this place, Navatu Rock, is between two villages of Narewa and Vitawa, and yeah, it's they're both part of the same clan, the same Yavusa, the same landowning unit, and so this rock is sacred to both of them. Now we've seen two, sorry, no, hang on a minute, we've only seen one fortification, the one that was further below, that which is about halfway up, and there are supposed to be 3 villages up here, and I think we've only seen just the one. But anyway, what we've seen so far has been very impressive. The whole place is littered with shells, and there are a few of them over here somewhere, and there are the sort of shells you don't see. They're clam shells, mollusks, that you don't often see in the market these days. According to Mike, you can still find them, but they're very rare. But this place is just littered with them everywhere you look. I don't know if any in my immediate vicinity. There might be, but oh, there are some over there actually. There are some clam shells just over there. But anyway, we saw lots of them on the way up. Lots of these white shells, these white mollusks, which are the most obvious indication of habitation. This was the food and sustenance to the ancient Fijians. They'd bring them up here to these retreats up here on this rock, on the Navatu Rock. They would bring all their food from the ocean, because this place, I suspect, was more of a retreat. It started off as a retreat, I suspect, and then it became a series of villages. Yeah, so food was very scarce for a very important reason, and that's the. I mean, you know, I think I'm correct in saying that the AD 1300 event was the reason that the Fijians started fighting with one another. There was a drop in the ocean. Food became scarce, and so Fijians who had been cooperating with one another, suddenly found themselves fighting with one another for resources, primarily from the sea, and so they retreated to these hill forts and these hills and mountains and rocks like the Navatu Rock, where they lived, and they brought up their food, what little food they could get, and they ate it here. And so this place is just littered with mollusks. There would have been fish bones, but most of them have probably disintegrated by now. Would have been fish bones, there would have been crustaceans, but what we've seen so far has been mollusks. Absolutely fascinating. Incredible. Actually, it's a bit harder going down than it is coming up. Okay, we've come up all the way from the top there and we're going down, and I'm having to crawl on my bottom. I'm a shameless exhibitionist.
That's true.
So we're back at the fortification site, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, this is it again. The site. Well, that fortifications we saw earlier with the stones. This is it here. You can see it all the way up to the top there. That was when they were terrified of invasions. And they built a stone fortification to keep out intruders.
And here comes our intrepid leader, feet first, making his way down the mountain, graceful, elegant, in control, past the vicious pawpaw tree. Here he comes, Azim Sahu Khan, the great explorer of Fiji history.
Great explorers. Here he is.
Here he comes. Hooray! He's actually upright for a change. Well done.
Rather than on his bottom.
Here we go.
This is Azim descending. How's that?
Keep coming.
I've got to tear a hole in my shorts though.
Not on video, thank you. He made getting up elegant. He makes getting down look crude.
Amongst all these clamshells, there's another one there. They're everywhere. Hundreds of them, thousands. There we go. Wow. I wonder if these stones were maybe thrown down against intruders.
Some of them almost certainly.
Because they would have been. There's no way they would have fallen down as a result of landslides or anything like that.
Or
maybe, possibly.
Most of them would have. Most of them is water.
Yeah.
But I'm sure a few would have been launched.
Yeah, launched at intruders. Wow. So there you have it. All this ancient Fijian history, and I'm crawling along on my bum. While holding a GoPro. Look at these boulders. I read somewhere that somebody said that they would have perched these boulders on the edge of a cliff, like up there. There's a ledge up there, and as soon as intruders arrived, they would hurl them down on these intruders. Look at the size of this one here. Huge. Or maybe they were just trying to create a narrow entrance. Look at this here, all these boulders. Whether they've been tossed down against intruders or whether they've been deliberately created to create a narrow approach to the villages that used to sit on Navatu Rock is anyone's guess. Oh. But there we go. This is the sort of jungle there is out here. Amazing. Okay, you can see the rock. That's what we climbed over there, and this is in the shape of a boat.
Yeah.
So you're saying what were you saying about this, Joe? That when the missionaries first arrived?
Yeah, the missionaries first arrived.
What did they do? What did they do here?
They did arrive over here.
Oh, the missionaries first
Yeah,
arrived here.
first arrived.
Okay. And this is in the shape of a boat. It's been turned into concrete, eh?
Yeah.
And this is the front of the boat. This is the prow, eh? Okay, so this is what's left. This is I read somewhere that I've got my arm here. I read somewhere that this is where the ancient Fijians used to sharpen their tools, but it's also apparently where the missionaries first arrived. They arrived here, didn't they, Joe? The missionaries. Okay, so Joe had told me this is where the missionaries first arrived.
So this was the church? Church or?
No, Burekalo? No, just a monument. This is just a monument to when the missionaries first arrived in this part of Fiji, in this part of Ra. And you can see the old train tracks along here. The old train tracks going off into the distance. The coast is just over there. And this is what's left of the arrival of the missionaries, and it's been turned into the shape of a boat and then concreted over later. But I've read somewhere that this is where tools will be sharpened, and also during they said for some reason they said during the dry season it would become flooded, which doesn't make any sense. You'd think it'd become flooded during the rainy season. This is the article I read about this place.
It depends. If they're talking about flooded from heavy rain,
Yeah,
if it's the dry season and they get a deluge,
then it
yeah,
would
it'll
get
flood.
flooded, wouldn't it?
because
Yeah.
The ground wouldn't be wet.
The ground wouldn't hold the water, would it?
Yeah.
This is, what's this called, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Navatu means all the things come and bend down over here.
Oh. What things?
All the eating people, the
Okay.
killing, everything.
Yeah. It stops
When
here.
the missionaries arrive.
When they arrive, they said this is where it stops.
Yeah. it
Okay.
stops over here.
Okay. Amazing.
Everything we're doing in this
Yeah.
and over here.
All the,
Navatu.
yeah, Navatu.
Navatu means bend down.
Bend, oh really? It
Yeah.
means bend down.
Yeah.
We should be bending down as we come in. As out of respect. Mike, why aren't you bending down? That's right. That's it. That's more like it. Okay, so this is it, eh? Oh, it's only a light scratch. Oh, so there we go. There's me, one of the walking wounded. Got a bit on my arm, bit down there, and I've got bitten by a wasp on the shoulder. All in the interest of archaeology and ancient Fijian history.
And sacrificed his shorts. To the
Oh yes,
adventure.
oh yes, I forgot. I've torn my shorts. All in the interest of exploration and archaeology
And your education.
and my education, and also all in the interest of YouTube.
Yes.
Oh well, that's just about the sum of it. With Joe walking off into the distance, that brings an end to our wonderful tour of the rock, Navatu Rock.